And somebody left some notes up here. I guess they're not for me. Oh, I'm sorry. So, I'm Matt Alexander. Matt Alexander is a friend. I had a wonderful time meeting with him the other day, who is going to talk about a wonderful green infrastructure project that the village of Wappingers Falls had developed recently. Matt's been in office as the mayor for 10 years, and he will tell you the story of his water supply and watershed and what they're doing to restore it.
Good afternoon, and thank you to Simon and Maureen and to Cornell Cooperative Extension also, who I work well with, and the Watershed Intermunicipal Committee that we have. And I just want to shout out to Mike Herzog, to the chairman, who's sitting in the back of the room. So you know, there's no real school for being a mayor of a small community, and you really learn by just trial and error. So when I took office, we had something about 2 weeks after I took office called the Tax Day Storm of 2007. So we have March elections in the village, in New York State villages. And I got into office, and we were getting probably 8 inches of rain in a couple of hours, and the waters were rising. I got a phone call, happened to also be from Mobile, Alabama originally, which is the rainiest place in the United States of America. And a woman called me up. She said, "Mr. Mayor, what are we going to do about all this water, all this rain?" And I thought, oh, I did not know I was in charge of this. So I thought quickly on my feet, and I said, well, you know, I'm from the Gulf Coast, and usually we wait. So I live in a very beautiful, special place, and it looks very much like this picture up here at the top, which was an 1887 representation of the village of Wappingers Falls, which was sort of put together around this mill area at the bottom of a 75-foot drop in which created the falls for which we are named. There is a man-made lake up at the top called Wappinger Lake, named for the Native Americans who used this as a summer camp area, hunting area. And Dutch explorers came in the 17th century and decided that this would be a good area to create power, a sustainable area, a good place for a walkable, sustainable community, all the buzzwords that we think about today. It's got beautiful falls that you see in the lower left-hand corner, and a vibrant downtown on the right-hand corner, but unfortunately today we have experienced a decline in the water quality, but due to upstream overdevelopment, and indeed the overdevelopment of our own area as well. We're 6,000 people in 1 square mile. So here is what some of our water views can look like. The water passes through the falls and goes down to what's called the Lower Wappinger Creek, which is a Hudson River estuary. It takes about 1.5 miles to get out to the Hudson River from that point. And its water quality problem is caused mainly by sediment laden with phosphorus. There are other contaminants as well, but the phosphorus really feeds the growth of all kinds of organisms in the lake, and has caused there to be this terrible overgrowth of 2 things, mostly water chestnuts and milfoil in the lake, and that causes even more siltation to stay inside the lake. We knew that we needed to look at issues affecting whole watershed ecosystems, and for our water quality purposes. In 2006, we actually lost our ability to provide our own drinking water. So this This 2007 tax day storm was not only a terrible catastrophe, we had to evacuate 45 homes and put them up for a few weeks while we figured out the flood mitigation efforts that we needed to undertake. And this was all happening at the same time that we were dealing with the loss of water quality. But what we saw in this was an opportunity in working with the Watershed Intermunicipal Council and our neighbors to address flood mitigation along with the effects of a loss in water quality. So I think around the same time I sat down with Barbara Kendall, who I don't see here today, and Fran Dunwell, and as a new mayor, you know, sort of demanded that something be done about this water and right now, and we need help. And they quickly informed me that the village of Wappingers Falls had been sitting on a grant that had been unused to study water quality inside our own boundaries. So they graciously let us pick that grant back up again. It was quite a few years old at that point. We performed a study of our contribution into the watershed, which is about 2% of the total contribution that this 220 square mile watershed has. And we looked at the places where we could change what was happening in the watershed and also address flood mitigation. So right here is a picture of the largest watershed in Dutchess County, and it's approximately 37 miles long. It goes up to about Pine Plains up here in this northeastern corner and ends where it goes out into the Hudson River in the village of Wappingers Falls in the town of Wappinger. It it has lots of tributaries up at the top. It's got all kinds of, it's got some interesting issues because up here in this corner there is mainly agricultural, and down here, if you've driven up Route 9 through the village, through Dutchess County, we had this tremendous Long Island-like explosive growth that we had to deal with. So we finished the plan. I think this one in the middle is the plan where we studied our own contribution to the watershed, and we worked with the 1999 Natural Resource Management Plan. We worked also with a company called Renewage to develop this particular approach, and we studied land use. So we wanted to protect our watershed because we had to spend $6 million, and the Rockland County presentation, you know, it is right that you don't want to have to put together a new water source, drinking water source in an arena of hostility, but you know, when we would have public meetings, we would get the same 5 to 10 people showing up talking about signs. When we talked about our loss of our ability to provide drinking water, good, clean drinking water, we had hundreds, maybe 1,000 people in the Knights of Columbus in our downtown area screaming and yelling. It was a real catastrophe, and it was the loss of the soul of the village of Wappingers Falls. So we're committed to protecting that new investment that we have, which is a lot of money for 6,000 people in one of the poorest communities in Dutchess County. And we have acknowledged that we need to work with upstream municipalities on this. So we have put this application in with the Green Innovative Grant Program to do a demonstration project of how we could address our largest input into Wappinger Lake that contaminated that water with phosphorus-laden sediment. This is our water treatment facility that just came on in 2012. We knew that we wanted to think outside the box. We were 99% built out. We needed to come up with something innovative and different. We looked at different treatment considerations, and we decided that this advanced gravel wetland that we came up with that would treat an area of 140 acres of drainage for stormwater management, water quality improvement, and lake and watershed improvement was the superior choice of these 4 choices that you see up here. So we needed to find a place for that location, and what was innovative about, one of the things that was innovative about this was our ability to work with a private property owner in the village of Wappingers Falls. We traded zoning enhancements for a 2-acre easement on this property and began construction in July of 2013. And what this project brought to us was what it does is it slows the water up in a gravel filter. First it puts it in a 4-bay and it stops it there and it holds the water there. It gives it a chance to get back into the ground, and it pumps it out to a gravel filter wetland. It removes 85 to 95% of the sediment, dramatically reducing carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, and other pollutants before they reach water bodies and communities downstream. And it also limits flooding, which is a very important part of this, and manages water flow for new and existing development. It was a $700,000 project. It costs approximately $4,000 to $5,000 annually to maintain. It is planted with native species and given a sort of, well, I'm from Alabama, so it looks like a swamp to me. The guy whose property this is on likes to call it his alligator swamp. And it's brought about a lot of community discussion. So one of the things we do to keep the cost of maintenance down is every year you'll see me out there. This is from about 4 days ago. We were there with 2 groups. One was Abriendo Puertas. We have one of the highest concentrations of Latinos in Dutchess County, and this is a Latino group that works with issues around parent engagement. We also had a couple of children who live in the apartment complex that's back here that was actually flooded out. This is the gravel wetland filter area. We have a fraternity, Theta Delta Chi, from Marist College, who comes out also. So we got about 30 people there to clear 2 acres of property and with old-fashioned sickles because that keeps the liability down. And we are able to maintain this watershed area. We've got signage there to instruct people about what it's about and what it's done. So to wrap this up, I think you might ask, where is the success of a gravel wetland filter that only treats 2% of the total contaminated water? And what it's done is, this is a demonstration project, and it's opened the door for us to talk about this at the Watershed Intermunicipal Council. It's also really gotten us to talk to our 2 neighbors directly upstream of us, who the 3 of us already share a sewage treatment facility together. We represent almost 25% of Dutchess County's total population in just 3 towns. That's the town of Wappinger, the town of Poughkeepsie, and the village of Wappingers Falls. And working together using our Tri-Municipal Sewer Commission, which is one of the oldest shared service systems together, we've been able to successfully put in grant applications for a new aeration system that would allow us to increase the capacity at our municipal sewer system, which would get more people upstream off of septic systems. And so that's something that we're very interested in. It also has gotten us a shared boathouse concept, which is a recreational facility through the Hudson River Estuary Program, which we're very excited about. And we have submitted applications also successfully for a New York Prize microgrid project. And we were able to get a feasibility study for that and to talk about how we could address our water treatment facility, solar array, and our tri-municipal sewer system together and work on these issues in a comprehensive fashion. Also, I think I saw Jay Beaumont out in the crowd, and one of the very successful projects that we did with Jay was a pump station upgrade at the Tri-Municipal Sewer Commission, and we were able to get that upgrade there, which also protects the lower Wappinger Creek and the Hudson River estuary, as well as the Hudson River. So that is how we view the success of this, not only in the gallons of water treated and the flood mitigation that it provides for this small apartment complex, but in the demonstration of working together with upstream municipalities and talking about this issue in a collaborative fashion to get people figuring out what we can do together in New York's home rule state, and where you need to be able to convince your upstream municipality neighbors that this is the right thing to do. I don't know if there's any time for questions. There's not. So if you want to just get me afterwards or get in touch with me through our website, or on the panel later, you can ask me something then. And I thank you for allowing me to be a part of this, and thank you for putting together this great forum.